Why do they hate Thor so much in the MCU? Hey, what's up, Nerd fam? This is your boy. I want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. Today, I want to talk about Thor. Specifically, why do they hate him so much in the MCU? Now, you might ask, why do I think they hate him? Well, if you've noticed how his movies have been treated and just the characters specifically, it's like they do their best to leave the most on the table when it comes to him as a character. Now, I initially was gonna make like a reaction to the trailers, but honestly, I'm kind of flabbergasted, and it kind of just led to this video organically, just talking about the type of things that they've just let go, and I'm not really sure why. And most of it has to do with the Marvel version of Thor, because obviously he's a Norse god. There's a lot that they derailed from by way of traditional Scandinavian lore, but obviously that's not what we're basing this off of. It's the comic version, and even then, there is so much that they just keep on leaving out. And really, it's his characters, his family, and everyone who he really interacts with in a comic that makes up his entire universe. Let's get into that. First things first, the thing that really gets me is how they've treated his family. And yes, they always talk about the relationship between him and Loki, but he does actually have other brothers like Tyr and Balder and HERMOD, like other brothers that not only are they important to Asgard, but they're important to the impending Ragnarok, which was supposed to happen, even though they had a film called Ragnarok, which barely did much of anything for him. It was him discovering himself, which apparently he's going to be discovering himself again, but let me not digress into that because that's just the stupidity. They don't know what to do with him. That's really what it looks like. But Odin, even then, sidelining the All-Father, right? Which is very, very strange, considering how important he is to Thor's life, and not just telling him, oh, hey, you always had power. No, all those brothers I just named were all pretty much results of trees that he had to have with different, like, giants and different other Asgardians, right? That he had to pretty much sire a child with in order to avoid war. This is something that wasn't even touched on in the movie. And all his relationship with the various brothers and sisters, like I said before. Once again, I get it. The Loki thing is very entertaining, but it's just not the only. And even those brothers and sisters also have their own relationship with Loki himself. As well as there's one, well, I'll get to her later on when I get to all the ladies, right? But Ragnarok, I spoke about that earlier. What happened to Surtur? What the hell was that? How do we just get possibly one of the most important, or the most important villain when it comes to Thor, because of how Surtur triggers Ragnarok, which is pretty much the end of all things when it comes to Asgard? How does he get thrown away like that? How? It doesn't make any sense. And next, I want to go on to some of the ladies that they've conveniently left out. Now, I know in this, they really want to talk about Jane Foster, Thor, who, for me, the character was goofy because Thor is actually his name. It's not his title. You cannot just become him. You could be worthy of carrying the hammer, I guess, but you don't just become Thor. And they even tried to write that into the comics. And how do you just transform into Thor? It doesn't make sense. And it's going to make even less sense, honestly, in this movie, because we already saw in the movie when Captain America picked up the hammer, he didn't just turn into an Asgardian version of that. And now that Odin is gone, we're going to have to figure out how does she just get imbued with Asgardian abilities and transform into a different version of herself with Odin not being there anymore. Because that's who helped that along in the comics. But whatever, continuity be damned. We don't care about that, right? But once again, whatever happened to Sif? Sif in the comics is pretty badass. She trained herself to actually be a better warrior skill-wise than Thor, wasn't as powerful. And obviously they had like a pretty interesting love triangle, which actually made sense. It wasn't just something shoved in. It's like, hey, I've known you, Thor, for all these years. Why are you looking at this chick over here who's gonna die soon? I'll be with you fighting all these wars. Doesn't matter. And I'll fight Ragnarok with all these kind of things like that, right? Speaking of, I keep on forgetting to say this part about Ragnarok. Odin literally is trying his best to like manipulate all these events after he knows that, I forgot which son has to die, which triggers, I think it's Boulder, that triggers the starting of Ragnarok, and obviously Sif knows about that. Enchantress. How do we forget about Enchantress, Amora, and her sister Lorelei, who are really, really important. And Hela. How did they got Cate Blanchett to play her, which was awesome. The costume looked great. But Hela's someone who's also been around for a while. How do you just kill her off like that? And you kill off her relationship to Loki, which is supposed to be her daughter. Which also would add more to Loki if, let's just say, in the series he had to contend with that as well. Also, the World Serpent being his son as well, and a whole bunch of other beings that he sired. All that seems to be gone. And if you know you're going to make like a Loki show and all this type of stuff, you would want to strengthen the Asgardian lore. But what do? Once again, with a lot of these ladies. Amora's not even there. Lorelei's not even there. Hela's dead. Sif got shifted off to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and never to return until that random episode in Loki. There's also other like Valkyrie, what's her name? Brunhilde? Like she's like the leader of them. She didn't show up. Hildegarde, there's like big muscular chick that was really good that Odin used to have like in like his front line. Why not? Where are all these characters? Even like Thor's birth mother was important as well. But once again, they want to make sure the women get their shine, but there was tons of women they conveniently left out of his lore, which is strange. Even two side characters, SCOURGE, who they made a joke. You got Karl Urban and you got SCOURGE, who like literally has like songs written about him in Asgard. And yes, he's kind of like Amora's lackey, not Hela's or anyone else. He's Amora's lackey. He does love her. He keeps on thinking he's gonna get some, but he's not. But eventually, like, even like sacrifices himself in some great thing, which is where he got the songs written after him. And then obviously we're never gonna get Beta Ray Bill because his hammer, Stormbreaker, has already been given to Thor, unless they find a way to creep him in there, and then all of a sudden Stormbreaker goes to him for some reason. Who knows? Who knows? But that character in itself is pretty badass. Are they gonna do the Corbinite thing? Which is gonna be strange because if he is on that ship with the Corbinites, and SURTUR is supposed to play a part in that, but SURTUR's gone, so I don't know how they can come up with something different, but we're probably just never gonna get that. There's all this cool stuff, and look, I'm not gonna act like I'm the biggest Thor fan. He's not like in my top 10 or anything, but I've read quite a bit where I know that there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're just leaving out for reasons that I have no idea. And I'm looking at this Thor Love and Thunder, and I can just tell, like, it's obviously going to appeal to people who love humorous stuff, right? Who love Guardians of the Galaxy. But why do you have to sacrifice this character? Like, why is he redeeming himself again, right? Why are we leaving out all this really cool stuff? Why didn't he have so much depth to begin with? So many questions, and I get it, because for some reason they hate him and they want to promote Valkyrie, the race swap version, and they want to put Jane Foster's Thor out there. They want to promote that and have this guy naked, make all these weird jokes. It's like, okay, I get it. But for once, can we get like a really cool Thor movie steeped in like some faux Asgardian lore and a well-developed story? Can we get that? I don't know. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Let me know. Do you love all these Thor movies? Do you see the type of things that I'm talking about that are missing? Let me know what your opinion is, and let's have that conversation. Until then, keep on reading the comics, and if you want, I guess, you can watch the MCU. Until then, into the nerd.